Today, when we think of AMD, we think of it as a success, a behemoth, a true competitor to Intel and NVIDIA. But back in 2014, things were very different. AMD was on life support, market share was falling, morale was gone, and its rival Intel dominated nearly every segment. When Lisa Su took over as the new CEO, few people expected a turnaround. But at the time, AMD's future looked uncertain, and most analysts assumed the company would keep shrinking or eventually get bought out. Though it's always unfair to credit one person for a company's success, I think it's fair to say Lisa Su is the person most responsible for AMD's rapid rise. So Lisa Su is the current CEO of AMD, credited for bringing the company from a dark age to its new era of massive success. Considering how interesting and impactful she is, it's strange to me that there aren't many videos talking about her and her leadership style. So I've decided to make one myself. I've spent hours watching her interviews, reading articles, and even skimming her Wikipedia page, so it's safe to say I'm something of a Lisa Su expert now. In this video, we're going to take a look at how she saved AMD and how her leadership style compares to her predecessor. At the end, I'll be compiling any lessons we can learn from her leadership into actionable advice to help you improve your own personal leadership skills, especially in the tech field. When Lisa became CEO in 2014, she had to quickly figure out what was causing AMD to decline. The guy she replaced, Rory Read, had a strategy of cutting costs and scaling back the company. Rory Read came from a business and operations background. He focused on stabilizing AMD's finances, restructuring the workforce, and keeping the company alive. You could definitely argue that he made the right calls given the circumstances, since the company was bleeding cash and it did have to do something. It was a pragmatic approach, but one that didn't inspire engineers or create breakthrough products. To be fair, he did what most CEOs would do in that situation. And recently, AMD has had some layoffs, so maybe Lisa Su is taking a leaf out of his book. The previous CEO's approach was defensive. It was more about survival, not really leadership. Su came in with a completely different mindset, based on engineering and a long-term vision. As she put it, don't worry about the financials, just focus on delivering great products. That single sentence summed up the cultural shift she wanted to make at AMD. Instead of just shrinking, Lisa Su decided to bet big on what AMD did best, high-performance computing. Pretty straightforward strategy, actually. Just make the best CPUs and GPUs you can. What? A chip company should try and make great chips? Who would have thought? While the idea of just making better products is simple, it was considered a big gamble at the time because the company didn't have Intel's budget or NVIDIA's dominance in graphics. Su believed that if AMD could execute technically, performance would speak louder than marketing or market share. It is a huge achievement that AMD has been able to catch up to their competitors so quickly when they were so far behind. She laid out a roadmap that stretched years ahead, knowing results wouldn't come fast. This is going to take 3 to 5 years. It's going to take us 3 product generations, she told her team. That kind of patience is rare in tech. Actually, it's rare in the entire world of publicly traded companies, where investors demand quick turnarounds. But Su's engineering mindset made her comfortable with long timelines and iteration.
The decisions that you make today, you actually won't see the fruits of that labor for like 5 years. I mean, that's the case. It's like a 5-year cycle. It takes that long to design products, to think about technology, to think about markets going forward.
Su's plan wasn't complicated, but it required discipline. First, she reorganized AMD around a single goal, performance. Every team, CPU, GPU, server, had to align behind that. No more side projects, no more distractions. She famously said AMD needed to run toward the hardest problems, meaning the company would focus only on products that could genuinely compete at the top. She rebuilt the roadmap from the ground up. That meant new architectures, new leadership in engineering, and a total rethinking of what AMD chips could be. The result of that work would later become Ryzen, EPYC, and Threadripper, products that finally put AMD ahead of Intel for the first time in over a decade. But it wasn't just about the chips. Su also rebuilt confidence inside the company. AMD's engineers had been through years of layoffs and public failure. She gave them a reason to believe again, setting clear expectations and celebrating small wins. Her approach to leadership was direct and grounded. She said leadership is something that you learn and something that you train, not something you're born with. That humility made her relatable in a field dominated by ego. One of Su's biggest leadership achievements was cultural. She created a learning culture that accepted failure as part of progress, a fundamental lesson that most companies seem to ignore. At AMD, she emphasized that the team learns more from mistakes than from successes.
I also believe very much in a learning culture, which is we learn from everything that we do. Actually, we learn more from our mistakes than we learn from our successes, because with every product launch, we can say, hey, we could have done that a little bit better. With every new generation, we think about, what will I want to do differently in the future? And that's very much, who we are. I think we are a learning culture. We are a very collaborative culture, but at the end of the day, we like to win. And it's about having the best technology and the best products out there.
That mindset turned setbacks into fuel. She also focused on collaboration. AMD under Sue wasn't just a company of engineers working in silos. It became a company that valued partnership, both internally and externally.
How we do that as an industry is partnering. Like actually, we are partnering, with Intel on a number of things. We're partnering with many of the companies in the semiconductor industry, because there's no one company that has all of the good ideas. It is a place where we absolutely have to come together, and there are places we're going to compete, and there are places where we're going to collaborate.
I think
Within 5 years, AMD's market cap grew by thousands of percent. Its chips were winning benchmarks, and its reputation flipped from underdog to industry leader. But more than the numbers, Sue's impact was cultural. She turned AMD into a place that believed in itself again.
All right, here's the good part. I have 5 lessons we can take away from Lisa Su's leadership to improve our own. Number 1, run toward hard problems. One of the clearest lessons from Sue is that progress starts when you take ownership of the hardest problem in front of you. Most teams avoid the messy, ambiguous issue that's dragging everything down. If you take it on, you create clarity and give people something concrete to rally around. Hard problems force focus, and they show others you're serious about moving the project forward. This is also something often recommended to people trying to stand out at their job and move up the ladder. If your boss is competent, they'll recognize your efforts. Number 2, build a learning culture. Sue talks openly about learning more from failures than successes. You can apply that by turning every misstep into a short debrief. What happened, why it happened, and what you'll change next time. This creates momentum because you're not repeating the same mistakes. People follow leaders who treat errors as information instead of something to hide. This is another universal piece of advice. It's similar to the technique you'd use when you're in a job interview and they ask you to talk about your flaws or mistakes. The common strategy is to focus on what you learned from your mistakes and how you're working to improve. Number 3, know what you're talking about. Even as CEO, Sue stayed deep in the engineering because it kept her grounded in how things actually worked. You can do the same in any project by understanding the mechanics behind the decisions you're making. Don't just operate at the surface. When you know the details, you make smarter calls and people trust your judgment more. Obviously, you aren't always in a situation where you have intimate knowledge of the kind of work your team does, but you should always make an effort to learn and understand better. People respect a leader who knows what they're talking about. Number 4, be transparent about timelines. Sue told everyone that the turnaround at AMD would take years. She didn't pretend there was a shortcut. In your own work, set honest timelines and stick to them. When people know what to expect, they stop wasting energy stressing about what's unclear and start focusing on the actual work. And finally, number 5, keep your ego quiet. Sue leads without theatrics. She doesn't talk over people, doesn't over-exaggerate, and doesn't make the story about herself. That approach works because it removes noise and makes cooperation easier. A quiet ego gives you more influence, not less, because people can trust that your decisions aren't driven by drama or insecurity. Nobody likes a leader who focuses on themselves. That's all I have. Thank you for watching this video.